How many unrelated people should be allowed to live in a residence, an apartment, a home? That's a very controversial question in the city of Ames. We're going to talk about that today on the Fallon Forum. We're also going to discuss big box stores. Some are prognosticating that the end of Walmart is in sight. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about the incident at a Michigan hospital where a male patient sporting a Schwartz sticker requested that no African-American nurse be allowed to touch his newborn. The hospital agreed. What's wrong with this picture? We'll have this conversation and more here on the Fallon Forum today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
On March 28th, Equal Justice After Hours is Iowa Legal Aid's annual fundraiser that helps provide access to justice for low-income Iowans. The event includes a reception and program at the Temple for the Performing Arts in Des Moines. It also includes remarks by Georgetown University law professor Peter Edelman and the induction of Robert Oberbilly into the Iowa Legal Aid Hall of Fame. Tickets start at $50 and sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Terry Bennett at tbennett@iowalaw.org. That's tbennett@iowalaw.org.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
Hello, Mid-American Energy.
I'm very concerned that you want to bill me an extra $5,000 to build a nuclear reactor. Do you know we're in the middle of a recession?
Oh, we were hoping you wouldn't hear about that until after the legislature had taken action.
Why not let your shareholders pick up the tab?
Oh, way too risky for our shareholders. We need you, our loyal customers, to pay for it.
Wait, let me see if I understand this. Mid-American wants to build a nuclear power plant in 10 or 20 years, and they want me to pay for it now?
That's right.
Well, I'll just take my business elsewhere.
Sorry, we're a monopoly. What we say goes.
I've heard nuclear power is more expensive than other sources.
Yes it is.
And I've heard there's no plan for how to dispose of nuclear waste.
We're looking at shooting it into the sun.
Well, I'm not going to sit back and let you make bad decisions with my money.
We're betting you will.
Stop Mid-American's power grab. Call your legislators today. 281-3371. 281-3371.
Paid for by Physicians for Social Responsibility.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome to the show, folks. It's a lovely day here in central Iowa. My lovely producer, Maddie, is busy working the phone lines, and if you are listening to the show live, you're most welcome to call in and join the conversation at 244-0077 or toll-free 855-244-0077. We've got several hot-button issues to talk about today. We've got the issue of how many unrelated people should be allowed to live together in a house or an apartment. There are differences of opinion on that, and it is most notably a hot issue in the city of Ames. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk with State Representative Chip Baltimore, the Republican from Boone who is sponsoring legislation to change that. Interesting political people lining up on different sides of this issue. We're also going to talk about the issue of big box stores. There are a couple of those planning to locate in Ames, and there is some sense out there among folks who follow this stuff closely that perhaps the big box store is losing its luster. Perhaps it is getting to the end of its line. Anyway, we're going to save that conversation for a bit later. We're also going to talk about the situation with the Michigan hospital going along with a man wearing a swastika who says he did not want a black nurse attending to his newborn. They agreed to that. The nurse who'd been there 25 years rather, has sued. We'll talk about that later in the program as well. And first, I just got to say, folks, I'm very proud owner of a 1985 Schwinn varsity bike. It has probably more miles than any bike I know, 60,000. And it also talks, which is really cool. I mean, how many people have a talking bike? But I got to tell you, I'm disappointed in my bike. And I've even called my bike to say, look, I'm really, really disappointed that you did not bring me to work today. You failed the test to be a truly committed public servant. Well.
That is ridiculous, Ed.
Oh, my bike. Gosh, you got to get a better phone connection there.
Well, you paid for it.
Well, fortunately, despite the fact that you held out on me, didn't haul me to work today. I guess you're concerned that salt's going to ruin your hair? I don't know.
I'm concerned about comfort, Ed.
Comfort, okay. I was able to rely on my trusty boots. My boots do not talk, but I tell you, they sure do walk. And I want to tell you, those boots there got me through thick and thin today, and here we are at the show, ready to roll. I want to welcome Representative Chip Baltimore to the program. Chip is state representative from Boone. Chip, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on today, Ed. I really appreciate it.
And you are sponsoring legislation that I'm inclined to agree with, although I know some of my Democratic friends disagree. The legislation would lift the cap on the number of unrelated people a city is allowed to say can live together, correct?
Well, what it does is say that cities cannot restrict the number of people living in a single-family residence based upon their related or not related status.
Okay.
That's really what it does. We've got some cities out there that are imposing ordinances that say that no more than 2 or no more than 3 unrelated people can live in a single-family residence.
When you say, quote, some cities out there, can you narrow it down, say, maybe Ames?
Ames is one. Iowa City is one.
Okay.
Waverly is one.
College towns, in other words, college towns.
I think it's more prevalent in college towns, but I know that there are some other communities that do not have colleges there that are doing this as well.
Now, I know there are cities in the Des Moines metro that have another restriction or another numerical restriction, and that is 7. That's quite a difference from 3. But would your legislation affect that rule as well?
If the restriction is based on whether or not they are related, yes, it would.
Okay. Now, you have some, again, politics is interesting in terms of the allies and opponents that it creates. My impression is that the 3 Democratic state representatives and senator from Ames are all on the opposite side of this issue. They support that limitation. Is that true?
I think that's correct, yes.
Yeah, and I do ask you because I've invited them to join this conversation as well and have not heard back from them on this, which is unfortunate. So I want to thank you, first of all, for being very responsive. And again, I'll try to understand the arguments as best I can, and maybe you understand them better than I do. But my impression is that they're concerned about the effect on property values and the serenity, shall we say, of a neighborhood if you should have too many, let's call them frat homes, moving in. Is that a fair assessment, or am I missing something?
Well, that's the way their concern is characterized. And what I've heard is we don't want the Animal House, college kid party group living next door to my neighborhood home where I've lived for 20 years and raised my kids. And that's kind of the argument that they put forward. And then I say, well, what is it about unrelated people that you're concerned about? And they say things like, well, they throw noisy parties. They're always people drinking on my, out in the yard. They park their cars wherever they want. Those kind of things that they're concerned about would disrupt the neighborhood characteristics of their neighborhood.
Now, a bunch of related people could engage in equally poor behavior, right?
Absolutely. And
okay.
If you go over to Iowa City, I like to pick on Iowa City every once in a while. I'm a Cyclone fan, but
safer distance for you.
Yeah, exactly. But if you go over to Iowa City on the afternoon of a Hawkeye football game, and you see what happens in some of those family homes, where there are related people living together near the stadium, you see all the same behavior that we're concerned about here with trying to regulate with unrelated people.
Okay. And so who asked you to, maybe this was your own idea, but was there some constituency that requested that this legislation be introduced?
Yeah, it primarily came through a group of landlords that have rental properties that they think that these ordinances are unduly restrictive of their situation, and they came forward with some specific examples. They have situations where you have people that own maybe a 4-bedroom home, but the restriction is no more than 2 unrelated people can live in that home.
Okay.
Those are the kind of situations where it's like that literally does not make a whole lot of sense. If you've got a structure that is designed to hold more people than what this ordinance is allowed, why should we have that family status or that related status as the limiting factor?
Folks, we're talking with State Representative Chip Baltimore, a Republican from Boone, Iowa. We're talking about a bill that would change the regulations on how many unrelated people are allowed to live together. Again, this is an issue that has pulled forth some interesting bedfellows. With you on this issue is noted liberal columnist and editorial writer Rekha Basu. Again, I'm empathetic with your point of view. I do know I have some friends who think, well, yeah, the ordinance makes sense. Again, because they feel the other issue they argue is that this is just a way for landlords to subdivide properties, bring down the quality of the whole neighborhood, and make a lot more money. How do you respond to that concern?
Well, again, there are situations where you can cities can certainly restrict all of the problems that they're concerned about. If they're concerned about overcrowding, too many people in a particular structure, they have occupancy ordinances that they can pass. So many adults per bedroom, or so many adults per square foot, or something like that. We've got noise ordinances that are out there that are enforceable to deal with the noise. We've got public drunkenness and disorderly conduct ordinances and laws that would restrict some of the partying activity. We've got, I know the city of Ames has an ordinance that says you can't have indoor furniture on your porch because they had some instances of people having couches on their front porch, and they'd sit out there and drink beer out of their keg while sitting on their couch. So, it is a way for landlords to make money, sure, but it's also a way for people of low income means to live together in a nice residence.
Right.
That maybe they couldn't afford on their own.
Yeah.
It's also a way for some older people if they want to rent out a room or two to help cover the cost of living and a mortgage or real estate taxes or whatever it happens to be. If you get into a situation where you've got a home that's been in the family for a number of years, and your grandmother goes to the nursing home, and that was her home, you can rent that out reasonably to help cover her nursing home costs.
Right. Yeah.
So there's all sorts of reasons why this should be okay.
Yeah.
We shouldn't look at rental. There's nothing that says you can't rent that out to related people.
And folks, if you're listening to the show rebroadcast on KHOI 89.1 FM, and it's Wednesday, then you've missed the live conversation, and I apologize for you being unable to call in and share your opinions about it. But if you'd like to email me any concerns you have, Fallon Forum @gmail.com, and I will gladly pass those along to Representative Baltimore if he likes. And also, if you're listening live and you'd like to call 244-0077, 244-0077. Here's a question for you, Chip.
Sure.
the nature of the family is changing. I mean, it used to be the nuclear family, the mom, the dad, and of course the dad, the breadwinner, and the two kids, maybe a few more kids. Right. And now you've got all sorts of different arrangements, and you described a few of them, even some of them involving senior citizens who want to, share the space and maybe bring somebody else in to help cut the costs. But what about this model? You've got a gay or lesbian couple, and maybe they're not married. I guess maybe for that matter, it's a straight couple who aren't married, and they've got an adopted kid, and maybe one of them has, a sibling, say, that needs a place to live. So you've got those four people living together. It's very much a family. It looks and feels like the average family that we see anymore, and yet it would not qualify under the current ordinance that Ames has on the books.
Yes, all of the ordinances kind of define related or define family a little bit differently, and that's part of the issue too. Is that some of them are very restrictive in terms of what constitutes a family or a related status. Others are very, very relatively expansive, and again, none of it seems to be exactly directly relevant to the problems they're trying to solve.
Yeah. So one last question before we let you go here. The bill has passed out of, is it subcommittee or committee?
It has passed out of the Judiciary Committee in the House.
And what was the vote like there?
Trying to remember. I think it was largely partisan.
With Democrats all voting against it?
For the most part. There may have been some that did not. It's been a little while ago, so I don't remember the exact vote on it, but I think it was I don't remember a single Republican that voted against it. Okay. I know that there were several Democrats that did vote against it.
It's kind of a head scratcher because you would think Democrats who typically like to stand up for constituency groups that don't have a strong voice at the State House, and certainly renters or students or maybe low-income seniors trying to extend their expenses a bit further. You would think Democrats might be standing up for those people.
Well, I think it depends on what angle you're taking it from. If you're looking towards, trying to stand up for some of those folks, then it is a head scratcher. If you're more of the, we're trying to do more community planning and then that sort of thing, I think that's probably more in lines of a stereotypical Democratic thought process, as opposed to this is property and we should have freedom to do what we want to with our property, which again, that's being wildly stereotypical.
And you and I never served together, but had we, you would have discovered that I was quite an advocate for responsible community planning. Smart growth was a term that I used all the time, but you can still couple smart growth with reasonable personal liberties, and this seems like an area where we ought to trust personal liberty to work.
Well, I certainly think so. Like I said, all of the problems that are being identified for reasons why these ordinances should be put into place are already dealt with other ordinances. Yeah. It's simply a matter of enforcing them, and to me, it's borderline discriminatory based upon a status that has no direct relationship, in my opinion, to the problems you're trying to solve.
So what happens next on this?
Well, at this point, the majority leader needs to make a decision about whether or not it goes before the full House for a vote, and if it does and it passes, then it would be thrown over to the Senate for consideration over there. So. Okay.
Well, again, I am a little surprised that this has become partisan, but what do I know?
Politics makes strange bedfellows.
It certainly does.
No pun intended there, but
right.
Or maybe so. But it really does. And to me, it was one of those things when I was approached with the idea, it was kind of like, this is a common sense thing. So regardless of where politics falls in terms of common sense, it made sense to me, and that's why I was happy to help move that through my committee there.
Chip, thank you so much for calling. Chip Baltimore, folks, state representative from Boone, Iowa.
Always a pleasure, Ed. Let me know if there's anything else I can do.
All right, take care.
All right, take care.
Folks, we're going to switch gears here and talk about big box stores. Well, some of them appear to be in a little bit of hot water. This article by James Howard Kunstler, a man I've respected for a long time, who actually tried to call into the show. We're going to try to get him on the phone here at some point if we can figure out how to make that work. But the title of this recent article is After Ruining America, the Era of Giant Chain Stores is Over. I hope he's right. He may be right. And, there's a lot of angles to this, including one of interest to folks in Ames, because it appears that North Grand Mall is poising to open a TJ Maxx and Kohl's, and maybe they've actually already opened. This article is from a couple weeks ago. I've tried to get somebody from North Grand on this program today to answer a few questions about that. But, I'm interested in what Kunstler has to say. And I want to thank Francis Tickey, a good friend of mine from Southeast Iowa, who helped put me in, made me aware of this article. And Francis, who is, I'm sure, under a lot of snow and not able to get out to spend too much time with his cows today, is able to join us on the phone from Fairfield. Hello, Francis. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Ed.
How are you down there?
Good. It's not so bad.
Oh,
Snow.
It really is never as bad as they say it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think they sell a lot more advertising when they hype up the storm.
Right.
Okay.
That is an interesting article. The article said Kmart will close 200 stores this year.
Really?
Radio Shack is going to shutter, it says 500 stores. So that's interesting.
And what are the reasons the corporations themselves are giving? Any sense of that at all?
Well, I think that one of the steel costs for shipping things, so far, and I think another thing is, well, I don't know if the corporations are giving that, but to me, it's the local food, our local buying interest. People are kind of realizing that we sort of, sabotage ourselves by wanting these big Walmarts to come into town.
Now, they've made the case to the American people that again, it's a question of convenience and cost. You can go to one big store and get everything you want under one roof, and you can get it for cheaper than you might get it somewhere else. That's the ambiance that's been presented. That's the argument that has won the hearts, minds, and pocketbooks of American shoppers for several decades now. And my own anecdotal experience, I don't see that changing. I know plenty of people who are extremely conscientious of the importance of local economies, of local businesses, of sustainability, and yet they will go to no trouble to find themselves at a Walmart or another big box store. Again, usually it's for one of those reasons. It's convenient. I go to one place and I don't have to go anywhere else, and I think I spend less. And I'm not even sure the spending less argument is true. And I also question how convenient it is to park, 200 yards maybe from a store that is the size of several football fields sometimes. How that is any more convenient than going to, a traditional downtown square, in Fairfield or Highland Park or Valley Junction or the East Village, and just walking from store to store to get what you want. I don't logically, I'm not sure how that argument really has been able to become so prominent, but I suspect it's because of its emotional appeal rather than its rational appeal.
Yeah, and people think they can get everything at one place. Fairfield has, I think, about a year ago, had a new super Walmart come in. And, of course, a lot of people get excited, but a number of people made a commitment that they're not going to shop there, and I haven't been in the store. As a matter of fact, as you may know, Ed, we have a dairy farm, and we process milk on the farm and sell it all locally. Well, we had a Walmart representative call us twice and said that customers were asking for our product there and that we should call the corporate office and make arrangements to sell it there. We just didn't follow through and do it. We just decided we didn't want to shunt our customers to Walmart.
Excellent. Do you think you took a hit by making that choice?
I don't think so. For one thing, people who've been in Walmart said they really didn't have much of an organic section. So, but I don't. We haven't noticed any difference. But we have some good stores here locally, a locally owned grocery store, and also a Hy-Vee that sells our product. And so we didn't want to take sales away from them.
Now, Kunstler writes in the piece that initiated this conversation, American customers, he says, Walmart shoppers specifically, are exactly the demographic that is getting squashed in this contraction of this phony baloney, corporate buccaneer, parasite, revolving credit crony capital economy. I'm not sure one could fit any more adjectives in that sentence, but he goes on to say, unlike the Federal Reserve, Walmart shoppers can't print their own money, and they can't bundle their MasterCard and Visa debts into CDOs to be fobbed off on Scandinavian pension funds or other places for that matter for quick profits. They have only one real choice: buy less stuff, especially the stuff of leisure, comfort, and convenience. So I think his argument is that as times get tougher, the stuff that we really don't need, which is the stuff that these stores have often focused on, or at least maybe it's stuff that we need under certain circumstances, but they convince us we need a lot more of it than we ever do. Maybe that is where the triage will occur. The other thing I have a sense of is that people are becoming more and more interested in livable communities, a place where you can get out and feel like you belong. There's nothing human scale about a vast parking lot and a huge store where you can walk from end to end. If there was bus service available from one end of these super Walmarts to the other, you'd probably use that. It's such a big area to cover. But you've got the when you've got a more traditional town square, whether it's in a small town or a commercial district in a city, that has appeal. And so I think the argument is that as these big box stores collapse, there's going to be tremendous opportunities for entrepreneurs to come in and provide that service that is now being vacated because these stores are closing. Seems like a good argument to me.
Yes, and one of the arguments they made is that the price of diesel fuel, like now at $4 plus, going towards $5, that will make a big difference. And recently I read a book by a Canadian author named Jeff Rubin, whose title of the book was "The World is About to Get a Lot Smaller," or "Your World is About to Get a Lot Smaller." And he makes the point that all this shipping of things from from China is going to come to an end, and so that's going to change things tremendously. And Walmart really is predicated upon this cheap stuff from China, so that's part of the pressure.
Yeah. Well, Francis, thank you for taking the time to join us. I'll let you get back to enjoying the snowstorm.
All right. Thanks, Ed.
All right. Take care. Francis Dickey, folks, calling us from Fairfield. Got more to cover on this issue, and we're going to talk about a couple local angles, but also about the way in which big corporations like Gannett work with big corporations like Cabela and IKEA and Macy's to basically scratch each other's back and promote the notion that somehow we need these changes. We're going to talk about that when we come back from a break here shortly. I do want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility for sponsoring this program. I want to thank Brother Trucker for kicking off the conversation today with their tune Downtown. I also want to thank Gateway Market and Cafe for being the sponsor of this segment of our show. Gateway is at 20th and Woodland, my neighborhood grocery store, but a store that serves the needs of a lot of folks across the Des Moines metro. They have a complete line of groceries. A lot of their products are from local sources. They've also got a fantastic cafe for breakfast, lunch, and supper. And I tell you, the suppers, I'm becoming increasingly a fan of their suppers. I was formerly the guy who liked to do breakfast there, but now I'm becoming the guy who likes supper there just as much. It really is a great selection, and a lot of it, very, very healthy stuff as well. So check them out, folks. That's Gateway Market and Cafe at 20th and Woodland. We'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
On March 28th, Equal Justice After Hours is Iowa Legal Aid's annual fundraiser that helps provide access to justice for low-income Iowans. The event includes a reception and program at the Temple for the Performing Arts in Des Moines. It also includes remarks by Georgetown University law professor Peter Edelman and the induction of Robert Oberbillig into the Iowa Legal Aid Hall of Fame. Tickets start at $50 and sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Terry Bennett at tbennett@iowalaw.org. That's tbennett@iowalaw.org.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
Hello, Mid-American Energy.
I'm very concerned that you want to bill me an extra $5,000 to build a nuclear reactor. Do you know we're in the middle of a recession?
Oh, we were hoping you wouldn't hear about that until after the legislature had taken action.
Why not let your shareholders pick up the tab?
Oh, way too risky for our shareholders. We need you, our loyal customers, to pay for it.
Wait, let me see if I understand this. Mid-American wants to build a nuclear power plant in 10 or 20 years, and they want me to pay for it now?
That's right.
Well, I'll just take my business elsewhere.
Sorry, we're a monopoly. What we say goes.
I've heard nuclear power is more expensive than other sources.
Yes it is.
And I've heard there's no plan for how to dispose of nuclear waste.
We're looking at shooting it into the sun.
Well, I'm not going to sit back and let you make bad decisions with my money.
We're betting you will.
Stop Mid-American's power grab. Call your legislators today. 281-3371. 281-3371.
Paid for by Physicians for Social Responsibility.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
This is Dr. Holding at the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35. 515-232-8766.
Since 1994, Sid's Catering has graced Des Moines area events with quality service and rave reviews. Owner Sid Cohn's culinary career began with a Northeast Iowa vacation home for international clientele. Sid earned a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Restaurant Management and was the assistant clubhouse manager at Des Moines Golf and Country Club. Sid has a passion for fresh, local products and offers a wide range of options, including vegan, gluten-free, and ethnic. Mention the Fallon Forum when you book your breakfast or lunch event and get 10% off. Contact Sid's Catering at 208-2091. That's Sid's Catering at 208-2091.
Local farms, global flavor. That's the secret to Hawk's growing popularity. The best meals begin with the best ingredients, and 90% of Hawk's ingredients come from local farms. In addition to seasonal fruits and vegetables, Hawk features grass-fed beef and lamb, and pasture-raised chicken and duck, all raised without hormones, steroids, or cages. The coffee is fair trade, locally roasted, and Hawk's House liquors come from right here in Iowa. Hawk's owners go the extra mile, composting organic waste and recycling. For more information or to make reservations, visit hawktable.com. That's HOQ table.com.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Max Wellman. Oh yeah, Max Wellman. But before we switch gears and talk about the issue of hospital care and racism, this incident in Michigan, which I find very troubling, we're gonna a little bit more gab here on the big box issue. You know, this is important, and it'll be interesting to see whether James Howard Kunstler is correct, and in fact that the big box stores do tend to go the way of the dinosaur. I would be as happy as anyone to see that happen. But I want to take a look at the a recent Des Moines Register piece. This is the front page of the Met. I think it was either the front page of the paper. I think it was the very front page of the paper. I clipped it in such a way I can't tell you for sure, but it was called "Could Iowa Bag These Stores?" And it was an exclusive poll, a Register exclusive poll about how Iowans felt about different chains: Cabela's, IKEA, Macy's, Nordstrom, Restoration Hardware, and H&M. All the and I haven't been able to track down the actual question, but basically they're asking folks, do you I guess given the choice, would you expand the state's retail landscape with a mega outdoor goods store and, this is the Register's choice of words, a wildly popular Swedish homeware company? I mean, there is no way, shape, or form that's a poll that we need. It's not a reasonable. To put this on the front page, this is an advertising supplement. Come on, this is an advertising supplement. You don't see any similar poll saying, how do you feel about such and such a local business or this type of thing? It clearly, I will be shocked not to see these corporations buying lots of advertisement in the Des Moines Register. And again, I can't say that for sure, but I really suspect that there is a connection between ad sales and this kind of promo. Because again, there's no way you can read this and not think of this as advertising. And so, I'll just say this. If you're inclined to like Cabela's, go to some of the local places like 2nd Avenue Bait Shop. Gene and Kathy, who own the 2nd Avenue Bait Shop. Gene told me this story years ago. Some guy came in with a rod and reel he'd bought at Walmart and said, "Can you show me how to work this thing?" And Gene says, "Well, why don't you take it back to Walmart and have them show you?" And the guy was kind of surprised and appalled that he couldn't come in and get free advice from the local store that could have sold him the same stuff at a competitive price and told him how to work the darn thing. So, I'm sure if he went back to Walmart, he probably got no satisfaction. Okay, you've got IKEA. Go to Redekers, folks. And none of these businesses advertise with me. I'm passionate about local business, and I don't see the sense in us sending our money out of state when we've got great places right here in Des Moines. Nordstrom. You want something that's like Nordstrom? There's plenty of that in the East Village or in Valley Junction. Lots of stores. What about Sticks? There's a place called Restoration Hardware. Never been there, But again, I have a feeling you'd find similar opportunities at a lot of the local businesses we have in places like Valley Junction and East Village. Again, what really bothers me more than anything is the way that is basically an advertising supplement presented as journalism. Let's go to Ron. Ron Yarnell, welcome to the program.
How you doing, Ed?
Good.
I'm kind of impressed that you got to work today.
Oh, piece of cake.
Okay.
My bike wimped out on me, but fortunately I have a very stalwart pair of boots that rose to the occasion.
There you go. You know, you might remember I was sending you an email about this issue last week, except my take was, like, whatever happened to the neighborhood butcher shop, whatever happened to the neighborhood bakery, they've all but pretty much disappeared into these big block businesses. And I don't know about you, I've been in big block stores, and the customer service is usually awful.
Oh, it's horrible. But you know, you do have, for example, if you go to Gateway Market, they've got a place where they cut and prepare meat for you right there. I know B&B Grocery on the south side does that as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, Highland Park still has a bakery. Well, actually, that might have closed. Actually, I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, you see, and I'm kind of interested in the decline of the bakery, but you know, I've been in some of the big block stores, and you know, the biggest issue with them is always payroll. They're always cutting down on staff because payroll is always the biggest problem. So there's never anyone around to help you. It's pretty much self-service.
Yeah.
Except they'll always have someone to take your money. That's what they're doing.
And that's why we should be giving those stores a tax break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I don't know what can be done about it, but it seems to me that if you want to talk in kind of holistic terms about community, the Walmart mentality, the Kmart mentality, even the Target mentality is pretty much deadly to any sense of real community. I mean, you don't really come in contact with the ownership. You don't really know the people there, and it's just kind of like,
right.
I guess if convenience and cheapness is all that important, I understand that. And I'm not a saint about this. I mean, I go to big block stores to get stuff, but I just kind of feel that in the last generation, we've really lost a powerful sense of community when we've lost Main Street, when we've lost the local butcher.
Well, and I question whether there is any real savings to be had. Again, yeah, you can anybody can point to specific items where they saved money by buying it at Walmart. But if you look at your overall expense, I mean, I live pretty cheaply, and I buy everything from local sources. I mean, every once in a while something happens. The other day I came to the studio, I forgot my glasses at home. I had to run over to Walgreens and buy a pair. You know, that doesn't happen too often. Normally I get my glasses at Wiley or at Bowders. You know, there's always some option out there for everything you need. My family did something interesting one Christmas, Ron. You'd probably appreciate this. And it was challenging because I had 2 teenage kids at the time. But my wife and 2 kids and I all agreed that they agreed because I kind of made a really strong case for it, I guess. We agreed that between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we would spend nothing except at local businesses. We made it work. It's possible. It's doable. It just it takes changing habits. It takes ignoring some of the ad barrage that comes our way constantly on this sort of thing.
I'm wondering, where are the market advocates who are always talking about the beauty of capitalism? Because to me, the beauty of capitalism is that you have the butcher, the baker, the local candlestick maker, the hardware store, the newsstand, all these businesses owned by individuals that you know their name, they live on your block. And instead, what we have is this monstrosity where we just kind of channel our money to corporate entities that funnel them anywhere between here and the Cayman Islands.
Well, okay, good point. Hey, Ron, thank you for the call.
All right.
All right. Folks, one more thought on this subject. Again, North Grand Mall and I were on the same page years ago when we wanted to, we were among those who were supporting, they were opposing the proposal by a guy named Bucky Wolford to place a big mall on the interstate on the north edge of Ames. That proposal was defeated, and it was argued that it would not only adversely affect downtown Ames and possibly Campus Town to a lesser extent, but certainly it would affect North Grand Mall. Again, I'm no fan of malls overall, but every once in a while, malls are the right ally on certain issues. For example, when it came to Jordan Creek Mall, I did not see the sense in $100 million worth of tax incentives to go toward one mall. And my allies in that were Valley West Mall and Southridge and Merle Hay Mall. But, again, overall, I prefer my local economy to be in small towns, in business districts, in downtowns. Those are the places I think that have the character and the integrity, and also the places that keep the money in the local community. So I look at the Register is just they don't really do good economic development coverage in so many ways, and I've talked about that before, and I'll continue to talk about it. But I look at this recent article titled "TJ Maxx Kohl's Open in Ames Soon." This is about Kohl's and TJ Maxx opening new stores this coming weekend, I believe, at North Grand Mall. It's a 55,000 square foot store. It'll employ about 105 full and part-time workers. TJ Maxx will employ about 60 full-time workers. That'll be half the size, 24,000. Now, and then the article goes on basically to give those two businesses promotional line. And why is a newspaper in the business of promoting other chains? And again, I think the reason is, the Register itself is a chain, okay? Make no mistake about that. And they also rely heavily on advertising money. And who can afford to buy advertising money? Well, it's chains. It's the big guys. So it's a very cozy relationship. It's one that I have a lot of, reservations about. Anyway, so it'll be interesting to see if TJ Maxx and Kohl's have any impact on the existing businesses in Ames, specifically in downtown. Ames has a downtown that has really begun to thrive. It's come a long way. It's a destination. I've been through there several times in the last month, and you have a hard time parking, and that's a good thing. If it's hard to park, that means something good is going on with that local economy. I don't know whether there have been any public subsidies for Kohl's or TJ Maxx, and if anybody knows, please let me know. I'd like to hear more about that. Again, my email address is fallonforum@gmail.com. If there have been subsidies, I'd like to know about it. Even if there aren't subsidies, the changing dynamic of your local economy when you shift patronage from small businesses to these chains, it's basically an element of colonialism. Let's call it that, colonialism. You drain money from your local economy, you ship it somewhere else, someone else gets rich, you get poor. That's really no different, folks, than what happened with Europe and Africa, for example, for so many decades, where the riches, the wealth of that continent were all shipped to Europe, along with in many cases, along with the bodies of people who became slaves. Certainly that happened in this direction as well. All right, we can talk more about that. On the issue of racial equality, I don't know how folks feel about the incident in Michigan, but I can tell you how I feel about it. Rush Limbaugh, I can tell you how he feels about it as well. But let's get back to that. The issue involves a nurse. She's worked for about 25 years at the Hurley Medical Center in Lansing, in Flint, Michigan, Michael Moore's hometown. Tonya Battle. She's been employed there since 1988 and was working in the neonatal intensive care unit recently when, she says, the baby's father approached her at the infant's bedside and asked for her supervisor. Okay, so she gets her supervisor. And then he told the supervisor he didn't want any black people involved in his child's care. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm the supervisor. I'm going to say, look, you don't have the right to make that call. You can't say. If a doctor or a nurse or someone else providing care is demonstrably out of line, if they have horrible bedside manner, if they're doing something inappropriate, that's one thing. But she's black, and so I'm going to refuse to allow her to tend to my, little white baby. This is incredible. This is incredible to me. Now, there are those, though, I will say, there are those who make arguments on the other side that are at least worth listening to. One of those arguments is this. This is offered by Dr. Susan Gold. She's the University of Michigan professor of internal medicine and public health. She says, quote, in general, I don't think honoring prejudicial preferences is morally justifiable. I love that, in general. She goes on to say, that said, you can't cure bigotry. I question that too. She continues, there may be times when grudgingly acceding to a patient's strongly held preferences is morally okay. I'm having a real hard time with that. I think she is very, very wrong. Folks, you're welcome to join this conversation. 244-0077, 244-0077. Let's go to, let's welcome Jonathan Narcissus to the show. Jonathan, welcome.
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
Good. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that when you give into a request like that, what you in essence do is you create a hostile work environment. You create a hostile work environment for the nurse. You create a unnecessarily stressful environment for, I think, other African Americans and people of color working in that environment. I think you undermine the confidence that the workforce in general has to have in management, that it will protect it and look out for it. I think you also give permission to others who have been forced to, if not alter their attitude, at least alter their behaviors in the workforce, to allow those attitudes to begin eventually impacting their behaviors in the workforce. You know, perhaps we can't cure racism and bigotry, but what we can do is create an environment where there are consequences, much the same way we create an environment where you may or may not want to speed, but if you speed, you're going to be given a ticket.
Well, and we don't, curing bigotry. I mean, that implies that bigotry is an illness. No, bigotry is a condition that you sometimes acquire through how you are raised. Maybe you acquire it through other experiences in your life, but it's not something you cure. You learn to move beyond it, maybe, or maybe you don't, but to regard it, I mean, again, maybe because she's a medical professional, she looks at things in terms of illness and curing and whatnot. But I think it's a flawed metaphor in a big way.
Well, perhaps she harbors some kind of subtle sympathy for that parent. Perhaps she identifies with the parent's request. Perhaps deep down she feels that if she were in the same situation, she'd like to be able to request it, and maybe even admired him for having the guts to ask what was in the best interest of his child from her perspective. We don't know. What we do know is this, that you cannot regulate attitude, but you can regulate behavior. That's all we can do.
Right. That's a good point. That's well stated.
Yeah, and that's what we must do. You know, I don't. When I was in Iowa City, in Coralville, I spoke at the University of Iowa to hundreds of staff. That night, a half dozen cops busted in my room. Allegedly, I was the 6-foot African American who had robbed the store across from my hotel at Night Point, the subway.
But Jonathan, you aren't that tall.
No, and the next
so
day
it was the African American thing that got you.
Well, and the next day when I went in to talk to the commander, he agreed that I wasn't anywhere close to 6 feet. Now, I had Dr. Adrian Wing from the University of Iowa on the phone with me the whole time, which is the only reason they didn't arrest me. And the truth is, I could care less if those cops are racist. I could care less if they're part of the growing Klan presence in the Coralville area. What I do care about is that their behavior was completely unacceptable, especially after they searched my vehicle with me standing in my underwear in January. And then they said, well, we looked at the video and knew it wasn't you. So, we cannot regulate attitude, Ed, but we absolutely can have consequences for poor behavior.
So what's going to happen in this case? I mean, this woman has sued, and I think she is right to do so. I think this is an unusual case because it seems so 1950s, if I must say. It seems like we've been beyond this sort of thing, and I have a feeling the courts are going to go along with this woman and say the hospital was definitely out of line.
Well, Ed, I hope that the hospital goes along with her. I would say that this doesn't sound 1953 to me. It sounds like 2012 to me, or 2013 to me. You know, one of the unfortunate outcomes with the election of President Obama is it created the illusion that we had somehow become a post-racial society.
I don't think too many people have bought that.
No, but there are those that have. You know, racism is alive and well in 2013 and thrives from one coast to the other. As an African American, when you go to a store, when you just engage in simple transactions, you know that you may be a target. Racial profiling by police is still prevalent. The only difference is that people are more shocked that it exists today.
Yeah.
But it exists. And this is one of the things I think we have to do is begin saying, you know what, we don't even need to study attitudes. We don't need to even understand your bias. Well, what you need to understand is that this behavior is unacceptable. Bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, keep your sheet at home. And until that happens, you know, the traditional response to racism is try to understand the racist.
Yep.
Let's try to understand them. I don't need to understand a racist. I just need that person to not behave in a way that is unacceptable.
Right. I like your point about attitude. Not much we can do. Behavior. Yes. Hey, Jonathan, thanks for the call. I've got to move on.
Hey, no problem, man.
Appreciate it. So, you know, again, of course, one of the staunch defenders of racism, let's just call it what it is, Rush Limbaugh, Leonard Pitts, who came to Des Moines a few years ago to speak on behalf of equality, takes Limbaugh to task in a very compelling article called "History's Moral Crimes Are Easy to Decry Now." That appears in the Des Moines Register, among other places. He concludes by saying, "We live in an era where bigotry has its own talk show and cable network." Yeah, that would be pretty much everything that Cumulus and Clear Channel run. Okay, I got time for one more phone call here. Again, we could talk more about this, and I do want to continue to track what happens with the legal proceedings on this, because I think this is a fascinating conversation. Speaking of conversation, Frank from Des Moines, welcome to the show. Hello, Frank.
Well, hello. You know, someone once said the world is a stage, and everybody must play his part.
Say that again?
You know, someone once said the world was a stage, and everyone must play their part.
Okay. And you've got yours, and I'm glad
Yes,
I've got
mine.
a different one, and we probably both feel the same there.
I'm glad I got my own theme music, too.
Thank you very much. Yes. So I've just got a couple minutes here, Frank. What's on your mind?
Well, you know, Jonathan and you just had a heck of a love fest there, agreeing on attitudes and behavior. That sounds like a great argument against homosexual marriage.
Well, the last time Jonathan was on my show, it was not a love fest, and it was pretty ugly.
Knockdown, drag out, brawl. Well, what would be the difference of a patient going in and asking for the preference of a male or a female nurse or doctor?
I don't think that would be appropriate either.
Because, you know, a lot of times a male does not feel comfortable in certain situations with a female nurse or doctor, and in other situations a female doesn't feel comfortable with a male doctor or nurse.
Yeah, again, there may be certain circumstances where that might make sense if you've got, but I mean, for you to be approached by an African-American nurse and specifically then request that you not have that person wait on you just because she's black. I mean, it wasn't like the guy even tried to come up with another excuse.
Well, what if the guy what if the guy ends up claiming he was born that way?
What do you mean, born what way?
Born that he didn't like a certain group of people.
Well, again, as the medical professional from the University of Michigan said, maybe he needs to be cured of that bigotry. Again, I'm not sure cured is the right word.
Well,
but
I think
maybe he needs to get over that bigotry. Maybe his attitude needs to change.
People that needs cured of their homosexuality and their behavior, which I don't think is right.
And I think some people need to be cured of their radical right-wing beliefs.
Well, and I think there's some people that need, their left-wing radical beliefs.
Well,
listen, you're not going to ever solve this situation because when people get in prison, they self-segregate.
or they're segregated by the authorities. But that's a whole nother conversation. Frank, I am out of time, I'm afraid.
Why are you out of time, Ed?
Because I've got to end the show a little early because your friends with the Tea Party come on after me.
Oh, darn.
Darn. So that's why I'm out of time.
Okay.
All right. Happy birthday, Frank.
Yeah, you too.
Folks, I want to thank you for sticking around for the conversation. I want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. Community CPA is at 3860 in Ingersoll Ave in Des Moines. And if you are a single person filing a W-2, Yingsa and her troop of accountants will do your taxes for $97. Again, if there are no extras added on, you're looking at a $97 deal that, again, could save you a lot of money and or find you refunds that you might not even know were coming your way. I was able to secure quite a refund once with Ying's help, and I really appreciate her service. So give her a shout, folks, 288-3188, 288-3188. Also, I want to thank Story County Veterinary Clinic for sponsoring this segment of our show. Kim Holding, Dr. Kim Holding, has been doing vet work for 30-plus years, and her clinic is at on Highway 30. There we go. Highway 30, just east of Ames, going toward Nevada. And mostly small critters, but if you've got a critter question of any type, Kim can sort that out for you. So give her a shout. Get information on my website or online at storycountyvet.com. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, and I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the space for this studio. Folks, I will be back mañana.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee.